Well, for more on the Baghdad bombings, Edmund Ghareeb joins us now. He's a Middle East analyst and an adjunct professor at American University in Washington, D.C. Thank you very much for your time, Edmund. So there's anger then amongst the population that the government isn't doing enough to keep the people safe. Do you think that that anger is justified?
Well, absolutely. Iraq and especially Baghdad, since we're talking about Baghdad, has been hit more than any other capital in the world with, I would say by now, since 2003, and maybe even if you go back a little bit before that, but basically since the war, thousands of attacks have taken place, thousands of car bombs, suicide attacks, etc. Explosions have hit the Iraqi capital, and tens of thousands of people have been wounded or died as a result of these attacks in Baghdad. So naturally, it's going to be obvious that people are going to be frustrated, angry, especially people who have lost members of their families and or who are continuing to suffer from the consequences of those explosions. So yes, but at the same time, when we say that, we have to realize also that the circumstances in Iraq have not been normal circumstances by any standards, and especially since Iraq continues to suffer from the consequences of the wars that took place before 2003, but specifically as a consequence of the 2003 war, which led to the dismantling of Iraqi institutions, the fragmentation of Iraq, the atomization of the country, and what I would describe as the Lebanonization, making Iraq into something like Lebanon, where the government and the political institutions, the political jobs, positions have been divided among people in the country along sectarian or ethnic lines, contributing to this atomization and fragmentation that I'm talking about. And on top of all of that, there is, of course, as you know, and as you have been mentioning, the war against terror, the war against ISIS, as well as the corruption that's facing the country, the continuing polarization among the political elites or the people within the government, the political forces, the political parties, which is contributing to this situation. So Iraq is not really in a very, very good position as a result of what we have seen and what we are likely to continue to see, unfortunately.
Edmund, you mentioned the word fragmentation there. The sectarian divides in the country are getting greater. How can that trend be reversed?
I think there's only one way. I think Iraqi politicians have to begin to reassess and rethink and rise above the sectarian backgrounds and sectarian or ethnic interests and realize that there are common interests among all Iraqis, regardless of what class they belong to, what ethnic background, and what sect. And so as a result of this, I think what we need right now is basically to take into account the concerns, the frustrations of people who feel that they had been marginalized and that they are now being included within the decision-making process. And that would be, of course, that's not going to resolve the problem. There are many problems, as we said. There's the ISIS and its impact, which need, as well as the decline in oil prices. But I think if you take a step towards this reconciliation, towards bringing people together, then that would be a very important step.
Okay, Edmund Ghareeb, unfortunately time's against us, but thank you very much for joining us.